Hello everybody, welcome. I am going to show us some of the basics of monoprint or monotype printmaking. So we'll get to check out some of our materials and tools. We'll see what kind of art we're going to make today and check out how we're going to make that so everybody knows exactly how we're going to make our first print. So you're going to need some of our cool tools. So everyone should have what we're calling a printmaking plate. And can you guys even see this? It's so clear. It's our clear plastic sheet. Everyone is gonna be able to use our rollers or our brayers. So in printmaking, this is what we're going to use to roll out ink and move paint around to make our cool design. You might have something called a baron. This is a baron. Or you might have a wooden spoon. And that's gonna help us press our paper down onto our print. We'll talk about that more later. So to make our first kind of print, we're going to make something called a trace monoprint. What that means is we get to trace out an image and make a whole new copy of it using our ink and our new paper. So to do that, you guys are going to want your paper. So I've got my sheet of paper here. I'm going to want my plate, my printing plate. I'm going to want some ink. So the first step for us is going to be rolling out ink onto our plate using our brayer. So our brayer is our cool roller that we'll use to nice and evenly roll some ink onto our surface. There we go. I want to cover most of the surface so that when I line up my paper and my tracing image, there's ink underneath the whole thing. All right, and can you guys see there are some parts of my plate where the ink is almost see-through and some parts where it's nice and red. I want it to not be quite so see-through. I want it to be nice and covered over my whole printing surface. There we go. All right, so now I have less see-through areas, so my ink should be thick enough to make a cool print. That means I'm going to lay down my paper, right in the middle of all that ink. And I want to do this really gently. Here's the important part. I want to do this really gently so that I'm not pressing my paper hard onto the printing plate. I'm just going to kind of drop it on there and let it sit in the middle of this plate. And then on top of that, I'm going to lay down my tracing image. Now, hopefully if we're smart, your teacher and I will make sure your tracing papers are not so much bigger than your printing paper, because it's going to be hard for me to tell where to trace, but that's okay. So we're going to make a little sandwich. And in our sandwich, we should have our printing plate, then our paper, then our traced image. Then to copy our design onto our paper, we're going to take our image that we're tracing and we're actually going to trace it again. There we go. So I've got a blue pencil so you guys can see where I've been. And I'm going to trace out really kind of firmly. I need some good pressure here. Over everywhere that I am trying to copy. So over my whole design, I got my cool swirly flower here. I want to make sure that I can trace over that whole image. And so what I'm doing is I'm using the pressure of my pencil, pressing and tracing onto this paper to press just that part of the paper onto my inked plate. So basically what happens when we lift up our traced image is that we're going to be able to have a cool new version of our image right on the back of this paper. Are you ready? Hey, look at that! So what kind of differences do we notice in our traced image? So that is our first way of making a monoprint. All right, now I'm going to let us all take these new monoprints to the drying rack So these are our monoprint papers. You can tell our ink's gonna be a little wet. Let's take that to the drying rack and see what kind of art you all can make. Okay, thanks everybody for your attention.